Are you ready to understand the soul connections in your life, whether they come through friends, strangers, or even unexpected encounters, so you can finally understand why they're here? Then today's episode is for you. Welcome back to Mystical Journeys with Jase. I'm your host, Jase. And today we're diving into a topic that I know hits home for just so many of you: soulmates. Now, before you picture candlelight dinners and Hollywood romance, we're going to go much deeper than that today, because the truth is, the word soulmate has been so overused, so thrown around that most people have completely missed what is really going on that soul level. This is part one of a two-part series. Today, we're going to cover the four types of soul connections and what soul recognition actually feels like. And I'm going to pull from some incredible teachers along the way, including Michael Newton's work in Journey of Souls and the teachings of Elizabeth Clare Prophet on twin flames. Are you ready? Then let's get started. What is a soul connection? I'm going to start with a soul connection and soul recognition first, because this is really the foundation of everything else. And the reason I start here is important. The universe can move a person around and it can move you around. It can move events around. And just because you end up in the right place at the right time with somebody doesn't automatically mean that that person is your soulmate. In an earlier episode, I talked about meeting a woman named Natalie while I was traveling on a service call. This is a really great example of a soul connection. It meant that I was just supposed to be there fulfilling the needs of the universe. I fulfilled that need because I happened to be in the area. This transaction between Natalie and myself was a very short, kind of intense transaction. But after that transaction, both of us went our separate ways, and we really didn't have to pursue anything further. I didn't feel anything intuitive like I need to go knock on all the doors of that university. She didn't feel anything intuitive to try to find me. And that's actually okay, because we were both just fulfilling that soul connection. Soul connections are the universe's way to move you around, move another person around, move events around so that you could be there at that time or place. That doesn't always mean you're going to meet your soulmate. It just meant that you were in the flow with the workings of the universe. Okay, what is soul recognition? Now, let's talk about soul recognition, because this is the thread that runs through all four types we're going to discuss today. What is it that happens? There's a part of you that suddenly can't explain a sense of slight familiarity with this person. You lock eyes with this person, and there's something that seems like it passes between you, to both of you, just for a fleeting moment, or maybe one person out of a group. That person just stands out, and it just seems like there's like, hmm, hey, there's more to this person than just looking at them in the physical. Now, let me just say this right now. If you see somebody staring at you, sometimes they're just sitting there trying to figure out who you look like. They might even be wondering, hey, why is this person staring at me? That doesn't mean that they're focusing on whether you've got a connection or not. They might be just looking your direction because something behind you catches their interest, or somebody else catches their interest. So make sure you understand that, because sometimes people just stare and they're just saying to themselves, hey, he looks like the lead singer of such and such band, or they're just staring off into space when you catch their attention. Just make sure you understand that those very normal things can happen. All right, let's talk about your side of this equation. One of the first things you notice is that there's a part of you that suddenly can't explain this slight familiarity with a person. The familiarity is like a very small thing you normally feel when you're have known somebody, maybe a former classmate, maybe someone you worked with maybe 20 years ago. It's usually the beginning of a very slight connection. If you want to test that familiarity, all you have to do is look around at the rest of the people in the area, and you'll notice you don't have the familiarity with the other 10 or 15 people around. But with this person, there's something slight about them that says, hey, this warrants following up. One other area where recognition can happen as you're going along in a conversation with somebody and you start to get a level of familiarity with them that's actually higher than just the normal conversation itself. It's almost like you and that person have already had some of this conversation before. You sat somewhere like this once before and exchanged some type of energy. You don't know what it is at the beginning, but you do know that there seems to be something going on between you both. I recently had a conversation with somebody over a couple of days, and after about the second or third day, I suddenly knew, hey, I really need to spend some time talking to her because I think I'm going to have to lend some assistance, share some knowledge, and help her on her path. I'd like to hope that she could recognize that as well, because this is what you can call a soul connection, because you found the connection or they found you. And now you found that sense of, hey, we're here for some reason. Let's go and find out what it is. And in the finding out is where you're going to determine a lot more about this person and the connection that you have with them. Have you ever felt the feeling like you know somebody? You're not exactly sure why, but you have the sense that you need to get to know the person. Ask yourself this question: where have you had this feeling before? Maybe 1 out of 10 people, 1 out of 100, maybe even 1 out of 1,000. Maybe at a conference or a gathering of people, one person stands out in that crowd. Maybe you've only had this feeling once in your life. And that's kind of important to acknowledge because you might have already recognized some people out of your past, just dismissed it and let it go. And that's something worth acknowledging. All right. Now that we've talked a little bit about soul recognition and soul connections, let's get down to the types. Let's start with the first one. Type 1, the past life connection. The first type is the past life connection. This is exactly what it sounds like. Your souls have incarnated together before. When you've had a past life connection to somebody, it'll feel strong. There will be something that says, wow, I've known this person before. But keep in mind, that connection that you make to that person might be something like you were married to them in another lifetime, or maybe you were bitter enemies. In a future episode, I'm going to talk more about past lives. For the moment, just know that you probably have a pretty strong connection to this person. It may not be the best connection, but you've got a strong connection regardless. And here's where people make the first big mistake. They assume that a past life connection must be romantic. It doesn't have to be. In a past life, this person could have been your mother, could have been your enemy, could have been your teacher, maybe even your child. The dynamic shifts from life to life, but the soul signature, that stays the same. So when you're dealing with the familiarity of a past life connection, usually some parts of it seem pretty mechanical. Like there were some period of time where you had to deal with this person. You just kind of know there's some sense of it. It can be pretty strong. You may have had that loving connection and relationship with them, but in that other lifetime, it's just like the same love you had during those teenage years. You had some familiarity, you cared about them, but in the end, it wasn't supposed to work and it didn't work. And that's okay because you made a connection to them and it's up to you to decide what you're going to do next with them. When you meet a past life connection, the hallmark is inexplicable familiarity. And I say inexplicable because you can't logic your way into it. You just know this person. Something that in that knowing is warm and welcoming. Sometimes it's unsettling. Sometimes there's unfinished business between your souls. The recognition comes with a charge, a slight intensity you can't explain in the normal way. Because sometimes past life connections are karmic. You're not returning for the joy of it. You're returning because there's something between the two of you that still needs to be resolved. A lesson that didn't complete, a wound that didn't heal, an agreement that wasn't honored. Something can happen in these past life connections is maybe that person wronged you. Maybe that person harmed you in some way in another lifetime, but in this lifetime, they came in and they had a role to fulfill. Type 2, the soul contract. The second type is the soul contract. Now, this one is fascinating because it operates whether you're aware of it or not. A soul contract is an agreement made at the soul level, often before incarnation, between two souls who agree to play a specific role in each other's lives, to teach something, to trigger something, to hold space for particular growth. These soul contracts are pretty important because maybe 2,000 years ago, somebody wronged you. Maybe somebody didn't finish teaching you something that they were supposed to teach you. Maybe there was something you were supposed to do for them, but never got around to doing it. I've seen some connections where people had lifetimes as nobility, and then in this lifetime, they come back as somebody who's struggling to pay their bills, but they end up finding a way to become generous because in their other lifetime, they weren't. So remember that when you're in a soul contract, you may come back to help somebody in your family. You made a decision to walk a path with them for a period of time and help in whatever way they're supposed to be doing it. Or if you've made the same decision to walk a path with you in this lifetime so that you can end up being helped by them. One more thing about helping somebody, sometimes it helps you to teach and just learn and learn to stand in your own power. But we're going to talk about that in the future for sure. One of the most important things about this is when you figure out that that's your connection with them, you also have to decide whether you want them to let them go ahead and fulfill that particular purpose or not. Sometimes fulfilling that purpose is a harder thing. Sometimes it's an easier thing. Sometimes you end up in a relationship with this person and it's the worst relationship you've ever had in your entire life. But know this, that contract that you made with this person, no matter how much that connection really didn't work out for you, it was something that's going to help you with your growth. And sometimes you just have to acknowledge that you had to walk through it, get the hard lesson from it, get past that lesson, and then create a new relationship that's much more healthy for yourself. Not all soul contracts feel good, by the way. Remember, some of the most important soul contracts in your life are people who challenged you, who pushed you, who broke your heart wide open, because that's what the contract called for. The soul doesn't always choose comfort, the soul chooses growth. Type 3, the soulmate. Now we get to what most people mean when they say the word the soulmate. But let me give you the real definition because it's bigger than romance. A soulmate is a soul level bond that transcends time. It can be romantic, but it can also be a friendship, a family member, even a pet. I know some of you just nodded your head at that one. You've had an animal in your life that you knew at some soul level was just more than a coincidence. The hallmark of a true soulmate connection is deep, effortless alignment, like coming home. Your souls recognize each other not because you've necessarily been together before. Some soulmates are meeting for the very first time in this incarnation, but because there's a resonance between you both that goes way beyond personality, beyond chemistry, beyond circumstance. When a soulmate shows up in this life, things tend to click into a place just you can't really manufacture it. It just works. Conversations go deep fast. Some of these conversations last for hours. Can you end up spending 40 hours of conversation with somebody in a single week? Trust comes naturally. There's a sense of ease that doesn't require explanation. This is what tells you that you have a soulmate connection. The building of this wonderful energy, and it's effortless, especially at the beginning. Michael Newton's research in Journey of Souls gives us a beautiful framework for understanding why this happens. Through thousands of hypnotic regression sessions, Newton documented what souls experience between lives. And one of the most consistent findings was this: we incarnate in soul groups, same cluster of souls, life after life, showing up in different roles, different relationships, different bodies, but always finding each other. I can give my specific take on this one because the person I chose to be married to most recently, there was something about her that I could tell it didn't make sense. I could have seen 100 other people in her exact same situation, but there was something that drew me towards her that caused me to say, hey, who is this person? And what is our story? I ended up following that connection, and we are walking a wonderful path together. Even right now, she just set down a glass of water to make sure that I keep hydrated as I speak through this podcast. Now, keep in mind that in your life, one of the most important things about soulmates is there are several kinds. There are some that are from your soul group. There's some soulmates that are part of your family. There are some soulmates that are the romantic soulmate. One of the most important ones that everyone asks for, they use the phrase, and I quote, the one. He is the one. She is the one. I know they're the one. And what really ends up happening is you're understanding that there's some connection where you've been with this person multiple times. The main thing about the soulmate connection is you're choosing to be together again and again because you want to travel this life together. Yes, both of you enjoy the connection. Both of you enjoy the challenges that you've given each other. You shared vibratory levels with them, for lack of a better word. You shared definitely a lot more time with this person than you've ever had in this lifetime. And what is that? It's a deep level of familiarity. You know that you're going to have something with this person. That deeper familiarity usually comes as time goes along. That's when you start to find that deeper depth of that person. And you start to come to the understanding of who it is and what you're supposed to be doing together. Type 4, the twin flame. Now we come to the fourth type, and the one with the most confusing swirling around it, the twin flame. I want to bring in the teachings of Elizabeth Clare Prophet here because she spent decades studying this concept and wrote about it in depth in her book, Soulmates. and twin flames. What she teaches goes well beyond what you'll find in pop spirituality. Prophet teaches that twin flames originate from the same divine source, literally the same I am presence, the same point of origin in what she calls the great central sun. This isn't two people who happen to vibe really well together. This is one soul that was created as two, masculine and feminine expressions of the same divine blueprint sent into separate incarnations. She put it simply and beautifully. Soulmates are companions of the heart. Twin flames are reflections of the soul. Here's the core of it. A twin flame is believed to be the other half of your own soul, literally split into two bodies, two separate incarnations. That's a different category entirely from soulmates or past life connections. This is not necessarily somebody you resonate with. This is somebody who, at a deepest level, is the other half of you. And because of that, they carry a mirror of your own soul. The twin flame connection is not always peaceful. It's intense. It can trigger the deepest healing and the deepest pain. Prophet also teaches something that I find incredibly important and not many people talk about. She says that twin flames have a tendency to become separated across lifetimes due to individual karmic mistakes. So you don't just split apart once at the beginning of creation and automatically find each other. Lifetimes of karma can build up between the two of you. Resentments can form. And when those two souls finally do meet again, sometimes the first thing that surfaces is just old pain. Why did you leave me? That's a real dynamic in those connections. But here's something she says I want you to sit with. Even when twin flames are not physically together, even when it's not your destiny to meet your twin flame in this lifetime, Prophet teaches at the level of the soul, you're never truly separate. Your twin flame is always there in your heart at the inner levels of reality. What's painful is the outer separation, not the inner one. Twin flames are rare. Not everyone has one in the physical form in this lifetime. And the purpose of a twin flame is not necessarily a lasting romantic partnership. The purpose is radical spiritual awakening. One other important thing I want to say about twin flames, the concept that they're two independent parts of your soul that went off to do different things in this lifetime. Sit with that for a second. Those two parts of your soul have developed at different rates, doing different things. And the concept of bringing those two together, yes, it's an interesting one. Can it be something that can be incredibly intense? Absolutely. Should it be exceedingly rare? Yes. I'm going to tell you right now, I think I've met one couple out of thousands that I can honestly say was a twin flame connection. Lots of people like to throw that phrase around. And then guess what? The relationship didn't work out for simple, mundane reasons. And you're going to say, oh, we've got two houses of the same soul. So shouldn't these two houses find a way to get along? That's one of the things I've noticed. So I'm going to say that there's enough information out there that confirms that twin flames do exist. But I'm also going to say it is a super rare phenomenon. Stick with the souls that you know and focus on the regular soulmate connections. So let's bring it together. The four types of soul connections: the past life connection, the soul contract, the soulmate, and the twin flame. And underneath all of them, that thread of soul recognition, that inexplicable knowing that says, I know you. We've been here before, or we're here together now for a reason. In part two, we're going to go even deeper and on to navigate these connections, how to know what type you're dealing with, how to work with them consciously rather than just being swept around with them. And lastly, how to call those connections in. Until then, what I'd like you to do is think back to the random times where you thought you had a stronger connection with somebody, just a stronger connection than just normal day to day connection. Take some time and think about that. Try to differentiate between the connection with just a regular person in life versus the person you've had some other soul connection with, or even a soulmate connection. See if you can remember when that happened. Sometimes you'll realize you have an incredible connection to a teacher. You might find somebody and realize, wow, I just really enjoy sitting with this person. And that's an important connection to keep in mind because maybe in another lifetime, you were sitting on some steps, learning some philosophy with this person. The possibilities are endless. So take your time. Think about some of those connections. Think about what they could mean to you and be ready with some of the thinking because in the next episode, we're going to get into a bit more detail of how to make these connections happen more frequently. And speaking of connections, please like and share this podcast. Don't forget to follow it so it drops in your library every Tuesday. When I put these episodes out, I put them out to help people. So please show your friends how to follow them as well, because anything you do to help them is always going to help you and everybody else. And that's always a good thing. Thank you for spending your time with me today. I really do appreciate it. I hope you got a lot out of this episode. Thank you.